Let me ask you something. And be honest, when was the last time you had an opinion that you actually created? Not something you heard from a podcast, not something you read in a comment section, not even something your friends opened your eyes to. I mean an idea born entirely from your own mind, tested, questioned, and defended against the weight of the world. If you're struggling to answer, you're not alone. Most people live their entire lives thinking they think for themselves, when in reality, they are recycling the thoughts of others. They wear borrowed opinions like hand-me-down clothes and never notice how badly they fit. And here's the dangerous part. This isn't an accident. The world benefits when you don't think for yourself. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian executed by the Nazis, wrote about stupidity in a way that was far more terrifying than ignorance. He didn't mean low intelligence. He meant a willingness to be led by the nose, to outsource your thinking entirely to someone else. He noticed that in times of crisis, people didn't become more independent, they became more dependent. They traded the burden of thinking for the comfort of obedience. And this is the first uncomfortable truth. Most of us like not thinking. Thinking hurts. It forces us to confront contradictions in our beliefs, to admit we might be wrong, to risk being disliked. So we delegate that work to authorities, influencers, ideologies, anyone who promises certainty. Nietzsche warned about this too. He called it the herd instinct. In a herd, you don't need to think. Just move with the others. Safe, comfortable. But comfort is the silent killer of truth. There's an old Persian story about a city where the only well that provided water was poisoned. Anyone who drank from it went insane. The king had his own private well and kept drinking from it, remaining sane. But soon, the entire population began calling him mad because he didn't think like them. They pressured him, mocked him. Eventually, the king gave in. He drank from the poisoned well, became insane like everyone else. And they celebrated his return to wisdom. This is how it works today. If you refuse to drink from the same poisoned well of ideas as everyone else, you're called extreme, delusional, or arrogant. And so most people, fearing loneliness, take a sip. From childhood, we are trained to follow patterns of thought. School doesn't reward independent thinking. It rewards correct answers. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. In The Prince, he explained that those in power maintain control not by brute force alone, but by shaping what people believe is true. A ruler doesn't need to chain your hands if he can chain your mind. Social media has amplified this to terrifying levels. You're not just told what to think, you're told what to think about. The frame of every conversation is already set for you. Plato's allegory of the cave is more relevant now than ever. We sit staring at shadows on the wall, viral tweets, news headlines, influencer hot takes, and call it reality. And anyone who turns around and tries to see the fire, let alone leave the cave, is ridiculed. Here's the second uncomfortable truth. Thinking for yourself isn't just hard, it's dangerous. Socrates was executed for corrupting the youth, which in plain terms meant he taught people to think. Giordano Bruno was burned alive for suggesting the universe might be infinite. When you question the common narrative, you don't just risk being wrong, you risk being hated. Nietzsche said that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, be prepared to be lonely, misunderstood, and sometimes even attacked. And yet, there is something intoxicating about it. The moment you truly form your own thought, not borrowed or inherited, you feel something primal awaken. You taste freedom. Bonhoeffer observed that once a group of people embraces a collective belief, no amount of reasoning can break it. The individual no longer sees themselves as responsible. They've merged with the group's mind. This is why political movements, cults, and even corporate cultures can make good people do unthinkable things. The group erases the self, and it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as agreeing with your friends about a movie you secretly hated, or staying silent when someone says something you know is wrong. Every time you betray your own mind to keep the peace, you lose a little piece of it. Curiosity is the lifeblood of independent thought. But the moment you think you already know, curiosity dies. The Stoics, whom Nietzsche famously criticized, believed in accepting the world as it is. But Nietzsche's rejection of Stoicism was rooted in this. He believed life demanded constant re-examination, even rebellion against your own conclusions. Because the most dangerous prison is the one you don't realize you're in. Think about this. If 90% of your beliefs were planted in you by someone else, how would you even know? This is the terrifying part. Self-awareness doesn't come naturally. You have to actively dig into your own mind, ask where each thought came from, and trace it to its source. You might discover that your political stance came from your parents, your moral code from your culture, your dreams from advertising. And if that's true, how much of you is actually you? So, how do you escape? First, realize there is no final truth waiting for you. Plato, Machiavelli, Nietzsche, they all disagreed on much, yet all agreed on this. The process of questioning is more important than the comfort of answers. Second, embrace discomfort. Independent thought will make you an outsider in some rooms. That's not a flaw, it's proof you're not drinking from the poisoned well. Third, slow down. In a world that rewards instant reactions, take time to think before forming opinions. Delay your certainty. History is full of people who surrendered their thinking to others and paid the price. Ordinary Germans in the 1930s, ordinary Romans under corrupt emperors, ordinary citizens in every collapsing civilization. The pattern is always the same. A population forgets how to think, and so someone else does the thinking for them. And here's the last uncomfortable truth. The people who control your mind don't need you to love them. They just need you to stop questioning them. Maybe you think for yourself, maybe you don't. But here's the test. If tomorrow every single person you know turned against one of your beliefs, would you still hold it? If your answer is no, you're not thinking, you're following. And in a world where obedience is rewarded and questioning is punished, the rarest, most rebellious act you can commit is to truly think for yourself.